Good afternoon. It is the 26th of March, 2021. Today is Friday, and it's also the anniversary of the securing of Iwo Jima. For those of you who don't know what that is, Iwo Jima is an island. It's a volcanic island south of Japan. It was secured by U.S. Marines and Navy personnel this date in 1945. And I have a friend who's since passed on. He was a Catholic deacon, as I am. I'm a Catholic deacon, and he was one of the deacons who was instrumental in getting me to apply to the diaconate. And he was a veteran of Iwo Jima, and his summation of that battle, which lasted 36 days, one of the bloodiest battles in the Second World War, because the Japanese army would not surrender. Iwo Jima was hell. Iwo Jima was hell. You couldn't dig a foxhole because it's volcanic rock, and it was just a horrific battle. But thank God for the valor of the men who fought there. And certainly you've probably all seen the sculpture, the huge statue, which is made of a photograph of Marines raising the flag on Iwo Jima. Today I'm going to talk about something that wasn't an issue at all when I joined law enforcement, but might be an issue today. It certainly is an issue today. How's that? For both those planning to enter government service, not just law enforcement, federal government service, and those in government service. And that is online activity, social media activity. And again, in 1985, this was not an issue. When I joined the military, 1976, this was not an issue. There were computers, yes, but they were huge things, and nobody had computers. Nobody knew what they were. That was it. If you didn't like something, you wrote a letter to the editor, you just griped at a bar or whatever. But nowadays, things are very, very different. Okay, so a couple of very simple rules. These are things that you probably know already or should know, but a lot of famous people, you'd be surprised, don't know them. And that is, once you get into the government, and you're employed, let's say DEA, FBI, any agency where you have a security clearance, or even if you don't have a security clearance, if you have sensitive material, never, ever use your personal computer or phone to transmit classified or sensitive data, or to use it for government business for any reason. And that should go without saying. Anybody should know that. A cheeseburger should know that, right? But we had someone who ran for president of the United States who didn't know that, okay? And but had that person been an ordinary individual working for the government, A, would have lost a clearance, B, been fired, C, probably would have put that person in jail, okay? That's the type of people you're working for, okay? So just don't do it. And second, it's not secure. People can read that. It's not hard to break into people's privately held accounts. So you certainly would never put classified material, never put sensitive material. Don't use it for government business at all. Secondly, once you get into the federal agencies, the DEA, the FBI, marshals, whatever it is, ICE, they're going to give you a phone, a government phone. They're also probably going to give you a laptop, a government laptop, and at work you'll have a government computer. You can't get away from the damn things, okay? Now, when I first came into DEA, it was great. You could just not answer the phone if you didn't want to go to work. Then they came out with a digital pager. You can't get away. Now you can't get away from anything. You're on 24/7 and they can get you. Never ever use the government media. That's your government cell phone. That is your government laptop. That's your government desktop for anything other than official business. Okay? Again, you should know that, but there are people who are high up in the government who don't know that, who didn't know that, and I'll put the individual's picture up, and there you go. Here's what the truth is. The government people, the internal affairs people, the Office of Professional Responsibility does not need a warrant to search their own computer, their own cell phone, their own desktop. All they need to do is give you a direct order to hand it over, and they can hook it up to Cellbrite, and they can see everything that is on there. And the American people have a right to that material because you're a government employee. That's not your material. Now, maybe you think it was because you were posting personal stuff on there. No, That is a work of the United States government because you're a government employee using government material. Okay, so that can be subject to disclosure under Freedom of Information Act. As a guy who was involved in a very high-ranking FBI agent found out, much to his detriment. He was carrying on an extramarital affair and talking about a presidential candidate and going back and forth on how they're going to do this, that, and the other. And of course, all of that comes out. Stupid. That's all it is. Just stupid. I mean, first of all, you shouldn't be doing that. It's immoral to do that. I'll tell you that. I'm a Catholic deacon. You don't cheat on your wife. Number two, you're supposed to be apolitical in the government. Number three, if you're doing it on government media, you're just an idiot. You know, and the guy was in charge of intelligence of all things. Okay, so again, I'm not trying to be political. I'm just trying to tell people don't do certain things. Certainly don't ever download anything that you are not supposed to be looking at. Unless you are proud to have that in front of your supervisor, the special agent in charge, or the person who runs the agency, don't do it. Okay? No bad pictures, none of that on government media. That's going to get you in a lot of trouble. The third thing, social media. And again, this wasn't ever an issue when I joined law enforcement. Wasn't an issue when I left in 2012. But here's what my advice is to you if you're going into law enforcement. I wouldn't have a Facebook account, and I wouldn't have an identifiable social media account. And here's why. Number one, defense lawyers could probably get into your social media account. Secondly, the employer can get into it. If there's anything in there other than happy birthday, Bill, or something to your old high school graduating class member, it doesn't need to be on there. Now, you know, are there recent circumstances where I suspect agents did that? Yeah, there was a guy who was just fired, a DEA agent, fired for going to a demonstration at the Capitol about the election on January 6th. And his brother's an FBI agent. His brother is still employed, but he was fired. And I don't know the full story, but again, if you're using your government cell phone to take selfies at a political rally, that's a no-no. Okay? You can only use that for government business. That ain't your phone, okay? You have a right to go to a demonstration. You don't have a right to be a DEA agent, okay? So that's where that goes, okay? You have a right to your opinions. You have a right to say whatever you want, but again, you don't have a right to a government position. And a lot of people, you know, he may get his job back. I hope he does get his job back if he wasn't doing anything wrong. But who needs to be dragged through the mud and you know, go through the hellish process that he's going to go through? Because now he's got a GoFundMe account because he doesn't have a job. Okay, so I have very strong opinions. You may not know that from, you know, but I'm a Catholic deacon. I preach quite a bit. I have written many letters to the editor on various things. I'm a very conservative person politically. But again, insofar as, you know, what I did when I was a DEA agent, my political activity was the same basically, and it will be pretty much the same as it should be if you're a member of the armed forces. Okay, and that is you're supposed to be apolitical. You are supposed to not voice a lot of political opinions amongst other agents or in public too much. You're not supposed to speak in public, certainly not to denigrate any president. Now, I've worked under Gerald Ford. You know, that's how far back I go. When I enlisted, Gerald Ford was president. Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan, George H.W. Bush, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, and Barack Obama. I was gone before Donald Trump became president. So of those 7 presidents, you know, there's some in there who I thought were great presidents and some who I thought weren't so great presidents. But again, they're your senior boss while you're a federal agent. Unless they tell you to do something that is intrinsically wrong, you know, you have to do it. Okay, so yeah, unless it's intrinsically evil, you know, in which event, you know, then you get into Catholic morality and the laws of morality. But other than that, You have to show respect to that person, even if you don't like them. You have to be respectful to them, just as a soldier has to be respectful to the commander-in-chief. They are your boss as a federal agent. So you may not have liked Donald Trump, but if you go posting things on your Facebook that you don't like him and you think he's a mess or whatever, certainly there was nothing back in the day of Jimmy Carter, but let's say there was, let's say there was some sort of pre-BC Facebook, and they were posting things about him. You can't do that as a federal agent. Someone will turn you in, bring that stuff up, because that's the type of society we live in. Someone will be offended, and you're not supposed to do it, You're not supposed to be involved in politics. The Hatch Act applies much more severely to those in the federal government who carry firearms. So if you're a DEA agent, FBI agent, Capitol Police officer, Secret Service agent, the Hatch Act, which governs political activity by federal employees, is much more serious than it is if you just work for the post office or if you're a clerk down at Homeland Security. If you carry a weapon and have a high security clearance, it's much more, your political activities are much more constrained, okay? What you can say and what you can do. You can't run for office. You can't hold an office in a political party. You can join a political party. Now, every federal agency that I know has a web page where employees go on there anonymously and gripe. And there was a lady who I promoted somewhat yesterday as an example. She got in trouble over that because she went on an account that the Border Patrol agents used to gripe about their supervisors, and it came out during her confirmation hearing in the Senate. So, again, it may or may not affect you. What they're always trying to do is the management of these agencies is always trying to figure out who runs these websites, and they're trying to figure out who's making the post, which is always like a cat and mouse game. But as a retired employee, I can do whatever I want. I'm on a Facebook group full of DEA agents, retired DEA agents, so this politician X is a jerk or whatever, and the border crisis is a horrible situation. We post whatever we want because they can't do anything to us now because we retired, But while you're working for them, remember, you're working for them. And it isn't that unreasonable, really. I mean, if you're working for General Motors and you said, I highly recommend that you never buy a General Motors car. Well, of course, General Motors is going to fire you, right? Okay, that's, come on. All right, so hopefully this has been helpful, a little bit entertaining for a Friday, and hopefully you will not fall into any of these problems, once you get a job with the federal government or enter military service or enter federal service. Okay, God bless all of you.